everybody, it's Dana Brigman, and I wanted to give a demo of the raindrop techniques. So we're not going to talk about the oils in this video, we'll do that in a separate one, but I want to demonstrate the techniques that you would use if you're giving your dog a raindrop. And I'm using my little stuffy here because A, I'm on the countertop trying to be able to get this video right, and B, since I talk a lot and this is going to take a while to demo, I didn't want to put my dogs through stress of a raindrop because they actually enjoy it, but for demo purposes I'm using my little stuffy. Then I'll show you me doing a raindrop on my dog completely separate of this, because when I do that I don't like to teach and I don't like to talk a lot and just get that done and make that sort of a very intimate, for lack of a better word, experience for them. So, little stuffy it is. So, a lot of people get really nervous about starting the raindrop, especially if you're new to this and have never done it before. When I do them, we have a whole different experience. We do the feet, we do the legs, we do the back, and I'm looking for a number of things that might occur on the body, something called pilation, where little hairs on the back of the, little hairs in the fur might stand up, almost like there's a welt underneath. You might sometimes see the belly have little red spots, almost like a rash. It's not an allergic reaction, but every point on the body is associated with a meridian, and those tell us something. So where those little hairs stand up or where something occurs on the body is actually part of the detoxification process. I also like to take a picture of the dog's eyes before we get started, and then a picture after, so that I can note if there's anything that's changed during that experience. The eyes are also a very key indicator of things happening in the body that might give us some clues as to what system of the body may need some additional care. I also, when I do these, if the dog is unwell, or if I feel like we're really in need of a good detox to get started, get things kicked off, I tend to do these about 3 days in a row, and then maybe once a week, move to once a month, and then perhaps quarterly. As the dogs approach senior citizenship or even geriatric age, that frequency may happen a little more often. So for example, I try to do my dogs monthly, my senior dogs monthly, or as needed. If something's come up, something's changing, something looks different, then I might throw in an additional raindrop. People are often scared to get started. And so the first thing that I'll tell you is maybe start with just the back, help your dog get associated with the raindrop, and that the priority really is about getting the oils on the body, right? The techniques are important. The analysis that I do that came with, that I learned how to do with my certification is different than what the typical pet parent will do. But again, I want you to make some observations, and depending on what you see, reach out and we can help you do some additional analysis, if you will, maybe add a Zyto scan to the process and figure out what oils will support that body further. Okay, demo. Priority 1, get the oils on the dog and make it a pleasant experience for everybody, right? So I'm doing this on my kitchen countertop so that I can have you guys see the back of the dog. Normally I would sit on the floor, maybe have the dog on an ottoman or a pet cot or something along those lines so that I can move around them. But the idea is to make this setting very comfortable, very quiet, very meditative, if you will. So if your dog is little and has never been experienced to essential oils, you might start with a single drop of the oils, right? There are 9 in the collection. You will do them each one at a time with the techniques through done between them. So it's not 9 oils in a row. It's called a layering process. So again, if your dog has never experienced this, you might do one essential oil, techniques, the next essential oil, the techniques, and so on. That would put 9 drops of essential oil on a dog's body, right? Which a lot of people are going to tell you is a whole lot. When we take a closer look in another video at the reason why these oils were chosen and what they do, you'll understand that the body is capable of taking that layered technique and the different types of oils that were chosen for a very specific person and purpose and using them appropriately. When I do my small dogs, so Howie is, I guess he's close to 19 now, and we do the feet, the legs, and the back, if I just did 1 drop of oil in each of those areas, that's 27 drops, right? So it has the potential to be a lot. If your dog has never had the raindrop before, lay down a line, so you'll put a few drops of carrier oil like coconut oil or the Young Living V6 along the back and just start to feather that in. So this technique is called feathering. And putting that layer of carrier oil, we call it the oil slick, will help those first few oils that are considered hot oils not to feel quite so intimidating to your dog. And you just feather them in, right? So I do my dogs neat. We don't use any carrier oils, but for those of you who are just getting started, the carrier is probably going to make you feel a little more comfortable about the experience that you're about to put your dog through, right? And it's an enjoyable experience for most of them, but if they're really far into this process, it may be a little odd sensation to them. So the feathering technique starts at the tail, where the tail meets the base of the spine, right? So technically tail is as part of the spine, but right in this little area where they connect, and you begin to feather. So you're taking basically your fingernails, and the reason you want to use fingernails is so that you're not picking up all that oil yourself. So if we're using those fingernails, we're not absorbing it, we're letting the dog keep it, and we're moving that essential oil up to the neck, up to the top of the head, right? We tend to do things in 3s. So I would start with small strokes of 3. 1, 2, 3, move up. 1, 2, 3, move up. 1, 2, 3. And so basically I'm trying to do little short, maybe 3-inch strokes. Then I'm going to do 6-inch strokes, 9-inch strokes. And I like to do the final, which is a tail to head, as the wrap up. So little strokes, longer, longer, all the way up, right? So that's feathering. And then I like to finish with that long stroke, tail to head. You'll do that for the first 2 essential oils. Frankly, you'll do it for every essential oil. But on the 3rd essential oil, when we get to thyme, we also pull those oils off to the side. So pulling those oils down, so up and down, up and down, up and down, up and across those shoulders and into that neck area. You won't do that up here because you run the risk of getting into the eyes. But think of this as almost like little angel wings, and pulling that oil down into the sides towards the belly, okay? And we're doing that because we want to get those oils moving towards those meridians. They'll do it naturally, but the technique is part of the experience, right? Now, I said, for you guys, the most important thing is getting the oils on the dog. Most of you can accomplish the feathering and the little angel wing pull, right? The next technique is called the Vitaflex, and this is where a lot of people will struggle. The Vitaflex is to stimulate those points of meridians and those acupressure points along the spine. And when we do the feet, it stimulates them in the foot area. And that technique is basically a 3-step thumb roll. We do it with our thumbs. And so if you think about pressing the thumbprint, your thumbprint onto the outer edge of the spine, we never want to do it on the spine itself, but there's a little groove in there that we call the laminar groove. Okay? So that's the area that you want to be in. But you'll thumbprint, tip of finger, roll to the nail bed. Thumbprint, tip of finger, roll to the nail bed. And so if you're doing that on both sides, again, your fingers are not on the spine. This is why I'm doing Stuffy and not my little guys. And they need to be offset just a little bit, right? So that your thumb knuckles don't crash into each other. So you would then do that all the way up, that press, thumb, tip, roll, press, tip, roll, press, tip, roll, press, tip, roll, all the way up 3 times. When you begin doing that, you may find those little spots on your dog that he sort of muscle flinches, right? That he quivers a little bit. You've all seen it where you start to rub their back and the muscle flinches. Make note of where that is. Like if this is your dog, put your finger where that occurs and take a photo of it. Take a photo of that spot. We can then look that spot up on the meridian charts and the acupressure points, figure out what emotion or what organ system is associated with that spot and do something about it. Okay? So that's the Vitaflex technique. Practice it on your own before you practice it on your dog. All right? But you'll want to do that all the way up 3 times. When you do it on the feet, I'm going to turn him over here. It's a little more tricky. You're going to get in between the pads of the feet, and you're still doing that same technique, right? Same technique. Boom, 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 boom. It's a 3 count, right? And you're stimulating the acupressure points in the feet. So if you've ever seen any of the charts about reflexology, in our feet, yours too, are points associated with all your organs, with all the systems of the body. And so stimulating in that area is very beneficial as well. If your dog won't let you do the feet when you get to that point, after your first couple of doing these, don't worry about it, just get the oils on. But try to see if he'll start letting you work in those areas. And then the same thing's going to happen on the legs. We don't typically do the back legs, right? Because we don't want to get into the genitalia area, but we'll try to do the front legs as well. All right, so you'll start working through the oils, and then as you reach, we talked about coming down the shoulder. I'm just looking at my notes. You'll go through the oils, and then you'll reach marjoram, which is almost the end of the experience. And at the end of that is where you really are going to spend some time doing some of these other techniques. Can you do them all? Sure. Will your dog let you do them all? Maybe not. Will you enjoy some of them better than others? Probably. So what you want to do, one is you're going to take, now look, my pinkies are short. Most people's pinkies are a little bit longer, so I got in trouble in my class for not keeping my pinky on my hand, but do what you got to do, right? So you're coming into this little laminar groove, again, never on the spine itself. You're going to take your fingers, press, and start working little circles, clockwise circles. So press, circle, 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 press, circle, 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 press, circle, all the way up, right? All the way up to the neck area 3 times. You're going to do the other side. And you're still going, so the dog now has turned, so you're still going clockwise. So the idea is you are moving up the spine, right? If you came here and did this, your hands are clockwise, but it's not clockwise toward his head. Okay, so a little bit different. So that is one technique to really work in that laminar groove and on those acupressure points. The next we call cross hand stretch and quiver. You're going to cross your hands. On little dogs, I tend to use just a couple of fingers, right? Again, my pinkies, I try to get out of the way. So you've got your hands crossed. You're going to press into that laminar groove. So if you look at me, I have one thumb on one side of the laminar and then my fingers on the other, right? So you press in. We're not trying to press the dog to the ground. Just press into that gently. Stretch your hands in opposition of each other and you'll feel the skin stretch a little bit, and then just tremble your hands. Just shake them a little bit. We're not trying to shake the dog, just tremble your hands. So a little vibration there. And you're going to do that all the way up 3 times. That's called stretch and quiver. The next is index finger and middle finger across the spine, again in that laminar groove. So you press and you just sort of rock your hands. Press and rock, press and rock, press and rock, all the way up 3 times. My dogs, when they're laying on the couch and they'll stretch out, I'll do this same exercise and I'm just sort of pushing into them. So instead of rocking side to side, which I do sometimes, I'll also just gently, and what am I doing? I'm stimulating those meridian points. I'm not trying to squeeze and move his body, right? I'm just giving a little bit of pressure into that area. So I'll do that often when they're just laying down next to me. And they'll come up in my lap because they know when they come up, I'm going to do something. For whatever reason, I can't quite be still. So index finger, middle finger, cross over the spine, and just sort of give these little rocking motions. If you have a bigger dog, same thing, right? Just all the way up. Dogs will also enjoy something called the free scrub, which is just where you start sort of scratching all around. Let them enjoy that. And then the other is sort of a side-to-side rubbing action. So you start at the tail, rub, 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 all the way up 3 times. Rub, 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 all the way up. Bigger dogs, this is going to take you a little bit longer time. And then, I feel like I'm missing one. I think that's all the required ones that we tend to do. And again, let me rephrase that. They are built into the techniques that I learned. You do not have to do them all. And if your dog doesn't love them, then skip it. Keep yourself safe, keep him happy, right? If you're noticing anywhere, again, make note of those points where you find some disturbance from your dog. It may be something that additional essential oils can be beneficial to. It may be something that you need to have a chiropractor look at, veterinarian look at, things of that nature. But again, the more things you can do that stimulate those meridians and help move those oils through the body, the more beneficial you're going to see things become. So I hope that helps with the technique. We will then talk about the order of raindrops separately.